Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Our Life. Today, we are going to do the epilogue to step 3, and then summer ended. The final section of Our Life we can play until they update with the DLC for this step. Oh, and I am not happy for it to be ending so soon. It feels like just yesterday I met that cute little 8-year-old and and was perfectly appropriate with him for his age. You know, and I waited until he was older to start looting. I waited until he was 18, you know. Anyway, moths bounced against your window, attracted by the light of your room. A siren call on the slowly darkening sky. Just as the day was coming to an end, so too would summer. Liz would be moving back into the dorms before long. Luckily, Lee had been able to come stay for a short trip before her own new journey began. She'd officially been accepted to her first choice college a few weeks ago. This was her last chance to see you all in person for. You flicked through the plans for the next few months, realizing that you didn't even know when you'd have the next opportunity for everyone to be in the same place again. It was hard to think that you'd likely be seeing even less of your cousin going forward, but you were delighted that she was pursuing her dreams. While you were still with each other, your family was going to have dinner together. As ever, the Holdens were tagging along too. You were going to the Chinese restaurant. Your destination was that tropical place. I'll go to the Chinese. I don't know what kind of food they serve at the tropical place. It was somewhere your family had always enjoyed going since you and Liz were tiny. The long-standing connection made it a fitting location for a final meal out before Liz and Lee set off again. Technically, you were getting ready to go out, though your mind was only half on the task. It was a pleasantly warm evening, the kind that epitomized the vacation feeling, and you were in no mood to spoil it by rushing around. While idly gazing at your room, you spotted a small cluster of unopened envelopes. That must have been left by a parent earlier. You headed over the table to flick through for anything of interest. As a child, any correspondence felt exciting due to its rarity. You recognize now that most of it was mundane, but you were checking any mail you got more regularly of late. There was something you were expecting. You stopped at a crisp white envelope. The logo proudly proclaimed the sender, a school you'd applied to. Does it even matter? I mean, we said we're staying here and... Well, I said we were just going to a community college, girls. Back in a different step, but we can take a breath and read it. The next step would take nerve. You close your eyes as you breathe deep. The air slipping through your lips as you opened your eyes once more. You pulled apart the glued flap on the front of the envelope and extracted the letter. Your eyes darted over the message, rushing past the pleasantries to get to the heart of the matter. The blood pounding in your ears deafened you to the world outside that was contained within these letters. Your heart skidded to a halt as you read your verdict. You'd been accepted. You were ecstatic, you were relieved, you could hardly believe it. I guess we're ecstatic. Bouncing on the balls of your feet, you pressed the letter to your chest as your excitement bubbled over. You had to tell your family right away. We can tell Cove first. Wasting no time, you pulled up his number on your phone and rang your boyfriend. Oh, yes, my boyfriend. You pressed your phone to your ear, waiting impatiently for the dull ring to replace with Cove's voice. It took a few rings, but you were in luck. Cove picked up the call. Hi, Joseph. You blurted your news without the customary preamble of a greeting. Hey, Cove, I got in. I'm going to college.
Seriously?
What? You heard him gasp before continuing, openly gushing over your good fortune. That's amazing. It's incredible. You did it. Congratulations, Joseph. There was another pause as you and Cove both marveled over the announcement. No, seriously, this is really, really big, and you deserve it so much. I know it'll be good for you. Thanks, I just had to tell you right away as soon as I knew. You heard Cove chuckle softly over the phone. Thanks, I appreciate it. Is it possible to be rejected? Maybe. But yeah, I chose that I had good grades, mostly. You wanted to gush about the adventure lined up before you, a dream that you transformed into a plan, one that was soon to become your reality. But your hopes were temporarily dashed as Mom called up from downstairs.
Hey!
It's almost time to go. Joseph, you ready? Oh. You covered your phone with your free hand and turned away from the device, not wanting to deafen Cove. The yell was intended to reach another floor of your house, not an ear that was virtually inches away. Coming! You brought your mouth back to the phone. I've got to go. I'll see you soon.
I mean...
Yeah, there's something I want to tell you too, but we can do that later. We're about to have dinner together. That piqued your curiosity, but you exchanged goodbyes and hung up. Hurriedly, you finished getting ready for dinner and acutely aware that time was against you. Despite that, you didn't regret the time you'd spent on the phone. It had all been worth it to speak to Cove. Now you'd tell your family, you'd make an announcement for everyone else at dinner. Was the only one who wanted to know? I mean, I guess I'll make an announcement for dinner. You tried your best to finish getting yourself ready for the dinner ahead. It was a strain. Your mind had only been half on the task before. Now with the news fresh in your mind, it was a struggle to concentrate on anything else. You kept having to recall your thoughts away from the future and back to the present. Time was against you. Mom soon called from downstairs that it was time to go. You had to check the time, sure that you had 10 or at least 5 minutes left. You were wrong. You tore down the stairs, attempting to juggle your composure among the hurry and excitement. Your moms, who turned to greet you as you arrived, swapped silent, knowing looks. You're hoping a DLC gets released next Friday. We can pray. They couldn't possibly have figured out what happened. Oh, I had a sex stream last night. What happened? Oh my god, I don't know why, suddenly I remembered that I had a sex stream last night, but I don't remember what was up with that. Oh my god, no, oh my god. No, I was like self-sucking myself last night in my dream. I was trying really hard, but I couldn't quite orgasm. Alright, well that's the dream I had last night. As your moms, they were pretty good at telling things without being told. You watched them hunting for any further signs that they were on the case, but none came. For now, it didn't seem like they knew what was happening. Not exactly, at least, but things were definitely happening. And even if they didn't know for sure what you were cooking up, they could smell something in the air. Everyone piled into the car. While it was marketed as being suitable to hold 5 people, in practice, it made for a very tight fit. Your moms sitting in the front were fine. You, Liz, and Lee were squished into the back, Lee in the middle, wedged between you and your sister. But Mom was an excellent timekeeper. Thanks to her efforts, you pulled up near the restaurant on time. The process of getting out of the car was slightly easier than squeezing into it, with much less coordination required to release the seatbelts than to secure them. You gave Lee a hand as she clambered out from the middle seat, then headed into the building as a group. A waiter greeted you as you entered. Ma let him know how many of you there would be in total, and he went to arrange a table that met your needs. He returned promptly to guide you to your seats. You perched comfortably in your chair, your head held aloft as if buoyed by today's good fortune. Your family settled down around you, all cheerful and looking forward to the evening ahead. Your drinks order had just been taken when the Holdens came through the door. They were pointed in your direction, though with Mom waving an arm in the air, it was hardly necessary. Shouldn't we be riding alone with Cove in his car? I think that's a whole family outing, so no. It's a family outing for both families. Cove and Mr. Holden came to join you at the table. As greetings were being exchanged, Cove took a seat opposite to you. Did I just hear the doorbell to my house? As greetings were being exchanged, Cove took a seat opposite to you. It had been left empty by an unspoken acknowledgement that you and Cove would be wanting to sit together. Now, when you say opposite to me, you mean across the table from me, right? Girl, I want to be sitting next to him. Mr. Holden sat beside him. See, that's where I want to be.
Hi!
It's great to see you. Glad you could make it. Hello, everyone. You wouldn't believe how hungry I am.
I see.
You came to the right place then. There was some laughter, though Liz groaned playfully, shaking her head at Mom's sense of humor. Growing up, she'd have complained, and Mom would have responded by making another comment. Liz had mellowed over the years, but she still made a show of despairing at Mom's jokes. Her reaction to them had become a joke in its own right. Meanness were soon passed around, and a temporary hush fell over the table as everyone read. Oh, menus. Am I really out here not understanding how to pronounce menus? Yes, I am. I'm a clown. Menus. I struggled with that word for a second. I don't know, it looked somehow foreign. It didn't last long. Punctured by comments about what people had eaten here before, and light chatter about what people were considering tonight. Once the waiter had disappeared with your orders, Cliff piped up.
Okay.
So I've got some good news. Kyra's making a trip out here tomorrow. Cove nodded, turning from his father to the rest of the table. Yeah, we talked about it and figured this was a good time for everyone.
Very nice.
That's great. Everyone reacted positively to the news, though Ma looked wistful.
That's a shame.
If only we'd known. Here we are, having a big meal without her. If we'd waited one day, she could have joined us. Mom patted Ma on the back, gently nudging her from the realm of possibilities and what-ifs and back to the evening that was going so well. None of the family knows, in sight of each other, but not out of handjob range. Good lord. Chin up, Leah and Liz will still be here tomorrow. We'll just have to throw them another get-together and keep the fun train chugging along. Ma smiled warmly, taking Mom's hands on hers. That's true. There's plenty to celebrate right now. But there'll be more good news and good times on the horizon.
Right.
And speaking of, that's not all we've got either. Mr. Holden's eyes were alight as he sat up straight in his chair, face angled towards his son. He barely let a beat go before nudging Cove with his elbow, pushing him to follow up on the announcement. He was the very picture of a proud papa. Cove shied from the limelight, ducking his head down and staring at his lap as he spoke.
Well,
it's just... I've switched over to working full-time instead of only part-time. Plus, I've been looking at apartments. There's a few I can choose from. He flicked his gaze up at everyone around the table, a smile creeping over his face. I'll be pretty busy going forward. Apartments? He was moving. Cove was going to move out of his dad's house. After 10 years, he wasn't going to be your neighbor anymore. Cove! Mr. Holden gripped one of Cove's shoulders and gave it a loving shake. His excitement couldn't be contained. Incredible! Cove's actually going to make it to adulthood. It's a miracle. Whose chat are you reading, Curl? What are you talking about? This chat? What, girl? What are you? Mr. Holden leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling in mock wonder.
I'm so glad.
I wasn't convinced I'd be able to rear a kid all the way to this point, but thankfully I lucked out and got the best boy a dad could ever ask for. Dad? Cove blinked. Wait, blinkered? Blinkered? Cove blinkered. His vision blinkered. His vision with his hands on the side of his face, temporarily blocking his father from sight. Despite his genuine bashfulness, which left him unable to meet anyone's eyes after all the attention thrust his way, he was happy.
Thanks.
I was really lucky too. You're a good dad.
Aw.
Oh, come here. You're trying to... What comment? The comment about the hand job? Girl, that Jermel said that. Mr. Holden threw an arm around Cove's neck, pulling him into as close of a hug as the seating allowed. He rubbed his cheek on top of his son's head while Cove chuckled, accepting the affection with a good humor. You tapped on your glass with a fork, something that you'd seen done in movies when people wanted attention. It didn't make quite the same noise, possibly because your glass was a tumbler, not a champagne flute, but everyone looked in your direction anyway. I've got something to announce too. Of course, we just want to steal some of the spotlight for ourselves. Lay it on us. I got my acceptance letter today. I'll be going to college soon.
You're fantastic.
A blinker is something you keep on the sides of horses to keep it looking forward. Ah, I see. Nice, Joseph.
Good job.
That's wonderful, sweetie. Ma roped you into a hug, her arms quicker than any lasso. You were thankful you were sat next to her. If not, you didn't doubt that she would have dived over the table to reach over to you in her excitement. Hey, let me in on the hug. Your moms pincered you in a hug, leaning from their chairs to squeeze you in tandem. Liz beamed at you from across the table. Good job, Joseph. Oh, hey, girl, Lee, we barely even seen you here. We haven't even seen your full, sprite and whatnot. Lee didn't hide her excitement, clapping her hands in open delight.
Seriously?
Also, I'm a little bit disappointed about the lack of Baxter we've had in this step. He better be all over the DLC. And of course, I guess he's getting his own DLC, but you have not had enough Baxter. He's been in like 2 moments. And the prologue. Maybe. That's amazing. You're going to be amazing. Mr. Holden gave you a thumbs up. Thanks, Mr. Holden.
Good kid.
Impressive. You're a good kid. The world's your oyster. Cove is my oyster. Cove grinned at you from across the table. He was still very pleased for you, despite this not being the first time he's heard about it. You looked around at the faces of the company here. You'd been on this journey with everyone here for years, seen them falter and grow, and they had watched you go through the same. Cove was leaving his family home. Liz was heading back to college. While Lee was starting at hers. You were staying close, but it was clear you were all heading in different directions to different destinations. Hope Derek's in the DLCs. Ooh, well, do we care? I mean, he's not even in Step 3, so he won't be in the DLCs. Some near and some far, but it wouldn't be long until you were all going your own way. Your heart swelled with pride. Bittersweet. You turned your head to the side, wistful, not wanting to spoil the evening with your troubles. You were glad that everyone was succeeding, but the idea of splitting up gave you a twinge of regret. These people had been key pillars in your life. Days ahead without them, no matter how bright and shiny, felt a little empty, like a theme park after closing time. Focus your mind on the sweet side. New adventures were still ahead, and you could encourage that optimism. Cove brought some attention to himself. with a clearing of his throat and a small interjection. I'm gonna stretch my legs while we're waiting for the food and everything.
Sure.
Sure thing, bud. With a tiny smile, he nodded at his dad, but the lightness to his expression faded when he moved to face you. Wanna come? He was attempting to be subtle, but there was a very obviously something on his mind, something he wanted to talk to you about alone. You watched him with concern as you rose from your seat. Yeah, I'll go. Take care. With those parting words, the two of you walked about the place. He was trying to get as far away from everyone else as possible without actually exiting the building. What did you need to say? He hadn't admitted that he hadn't admitted that was what this was about, but he didn't need to. Cove started pulling on the hem of his shirt. He turned his head back to face you, but it was an awkward movement. Well, I wanted to talk to you one-on-one about all of this. You know, my work, moving. That's what I meant when we talked before dinner. I mean, it was coming before here, but now it's pretty much here. Yeah, it's exciting. Cove stopped picking at his shirt and he seemed to respond well to that response. He was relieved that you weren't upset about it. I'm glad you think so. But then he looked down and his brows furrowed. You saw his hand shift away from his clothes instead to rub his arms. Are you looking forward to it? I am. Well, I'm trying to be. He ducked his head further and you saw his face start to redden. But it's scary. What if I mess up everything for me? For us? Let's see. So you're saying you're going to dress up as the future for Halloween? You could never ruin what we have. Yeah, you could never ruin what we have. You're so nice to me. Cove then turned his head away and wrapped his arms around himself. You felt a sudden chill that definitely wasn't caused by the air conditioner. I promise I'm not going to keep asking this forever, but so much of our lives has been this place with these people. It seems like all that's about to change. So, are you really sure you want me? You remember that night of the Orca fundraiser when you admitted you loved Cove? Oh, I remember that night, and you wanted to be with him always. You seemed so confident about it then, but now that you were on the brink, his words came out hesitantly. He didn't want to ask. He didn't want to know. I'm not just talking about today, but forever. Always. Even if things change later. Right now, do you feel we can make it? Or do you think we can't last? That one day we'll have to move on? You were worried as he was. You got mad at him for this. You kept calm. You understood his concern. It was definitely hard to imagine what would happen. However, you didn't let yourself get upset. Let's see, no matter what happens, I want to be with you. You were in love with him. There was no way you were going to let this fall down the wayside. Cove laughed with a delicate smile on his face. Okay, you win. I wanted to prepare myself for the horrifying unknown, but you're kind of giving me no choice but to be optimistic here. His eyes sparkled with mischief. Strong armor. I can't believe you're being forced to have hope about life. His lips twitched up at your sarcasm.
Right?
I know. How am I gonna get past this? He gave a small smile, then stopped joking around. Thanks for listening to me, Joseph. It helped. You felt pleased that his anxiety had been eased after talking it out. I think it's time to rejoin the party. Do you feel like heading back?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot what we were doing here. That'd probably be good. With matching smiles, you both reclaimed your seats at the table. Both of you felt lighter and it showed.
Mm-hmm.
You seem happy. What was that?
Yeah, it looked like you two were having quite the conversation over there.
It's just neighbor stuff, sorry. I used to be your neighbor. He waved off their questions, and you didn't offer any explanations. They still seemed curious, but caught that Cove wanted to stay between the two of you and let it drop. Things relaxed, and you took a sip of your drink. Lee idly tapped the table and got your attention. I'm so excited to try this place. I haven't been here in a long time. I hope it's as good as I remember. All the restaurants in the area are pretty top-notch in my humble opinion. We'll see. It was a challenge issued. Liz carried herself like some sort of professional food critic, and Mom snorted. Tough crowd. Jeez, Liz. It's your birthday today? Well, happy birthday, pink cacti. Ma giggled and chimed in as well, much to Liz's embarrassment. That's right, Lizzie, jeez. Oh, jeez Louise. Be nice to Liz, no? We'll just shake our head. Why was your family like this? Jeez. Everyone burst out laughing, besides Liz, of course. She smirked. No one could ever accuse your family of being no fun. Night fell soon after everyone finished their meals, and before you knew it, you were standing in the parking lot saying your goodbyes and packing up the cars to go home. The last of the chores were done, your family spent some more time together. The rest of the night felt like it was going by in the blink of an eye, and somehow the time came to retire your room to sleep. You pulled your covers up under your chin and settled down for the night, getting warm and cozy. Is Cove gonna come through our window again? As your head sank into your pillow and you closed your eyes, your mind drifted back to everything that had happened that day. You could see it all now, behind your eyelids, as though you were experiencing it all over again. And then the image of Cove popped into your head, and you smiled softly to yourself. Let's see... Texted him to come over. You wanted to sneak out to his room. Girl, we can be the one to sneak out for once. If Cove could do it, then you didn't see why you shouldn't be allowed to. You made up your minds. As quietly as you could imagine, you put on your shoes and slipped out of your room, closing the door behind you softly. Heading slowly down, you took care not to make the floor creak, especially the boards right by the bathroom. Those definitely squeaked. The stillness of the night made even the slightest sound seem so much louder to your ears. You were very aware of your mom sleeping nearby. Upon reaching the bottom, you tiptoed towards the front door. Slipping out into the crisp night air, you shut the door and took a relieving breath. Excitement rising, you dashed across the street towards Cove's house. The road too was surreal at this hour, familiar and yet strange. It might have been eerie at another time, but with how eager you were, you hardly cared. You attempted to find your way from the normal footpath to the side of the condo, but the limited light was making it difficult. You knew for sure which window was Cove's, and luckily for you, it was on the first floor. Unlike Cove, you wouldn't have to do any building scaling. All you need to do now is make it safely over the fence and past the bushes without being caught or injured. Sneaking closer, you glanced over the hedges towards Cove's bedroom window, finding it cracked open. Perfect. You wouldn't have to knock and worry about him not answering. It took some effort, but eventually you managed to clumsily push yourself up over the fence. You slipped a little at the end and snagged your sleeve on a branch in the shrubbery, but you brushed it off quickly and darted over to the window. You buzzed with a nervous excitement as you approached it in the dark, having successfully made it all the way here unseen. Lifting the window up so that it was fully open, you pushed yourself halfway through, your legs dangling into the underbrush below. It was a little awkward as a shelf was right in the way. You had to take care not to knock over a couple of plants, but you made it through with minimal noise. Once safely inside, you dusted yourself off and turned back close to close the window gently, with only the soft glow of moonlight and Cove's fish tank there to see the way. You gave a small wave to your favorite fishes, the one you named and the one you had given Cove as a gift. Both looked to be doing so good. Then, straining your eyes through the dark, you crept towards Cove's bed, barely making out the sleeping figure beneath the covers. Let's just creep into bed, not even say a word. Because Lord knows he didn't let us sleep with him last time. This is our only chance. By the sounds of his soft breathing, you could tell that he hadn't heard you come in, and a small smile tugged at your lips. You startled him with a loud noise, you poked him until he woke up, you nudged him gently, you whispered his name, you sat down on top of him. Can we leave him to sleep and sit down beside him? He looked so peaceful as he slept, you decided you didn't have the heart to wake him. Instead, you took a seat at the edge of his bed and watched him affectionately, matching your breast to his own deep breathing and smiling down at him. You weren't sure what you were going to do now that you were there, but you were happy to be near Cove all the same, even if he was fast asleep. Your gaze drifted around the darkened room. Even though in daylight hours you would recognize it, the darkness made it seem just a little bit different and intriguing. Your eyes stopped for a moment on the fish tank against one wall, and you watched his precious pellets float around for a moment. Finally, you settled on the window. Maybe we should just head home. You contemplated it, trying to make up your mind until Cove stirred and rolled over, bumping right into you. Huh? You turned just as his eyes fluttered open, still heavy with sleep, and he looked right at you.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. He pulled his covers up under his chin and rolled over again the other way, settling back in. You snickered quietly to yourself as you sat there. He could figure it on his own later, and after a few more seconds he did. Wait, Joseph? Yes, do you need something? He shuffled on the covers and sat up to stare at you in alarm.
What?
Why are you in my room? What happened? A smile slipped onto your face as he finally registered your presence for real. We can hug him. Leaning forward, you wrapped your arms around Cove, feeling him freeze for a brief moment. When he relaxed and hugged you back, you let out a small sigh.
It's okay.
It doesn't matter really why you came. It's okay. You held him for a little while longer, letting his hug relax you until you pulled back and looked at him gently. We being a creep? He's our boyfriend! I should have known you'd do this one of these days. It's only fair. You let out a breath, feeling relieved that he didn't seem bothered by it. In fact, it felt kind of good. You thought maybe this enthusiasm was why Cove did it so often. He pushed himself up fully, swinging his legs over the side of the bed and leaving a spot for you beside him. His hands shook where he held them in his lap. He was nervous. You sat beside him happily, waiting for him to speak first. You can stay as long as you want. Really? Yeah, really. Can I stay the whole night?
Of course.
Aw. You smiled, feeling relieved that he had agreed. And he grinned back. You could always count on him. I've secretly slept over in your room before. It's fair you get to do it too. You snickered, feeling pleased with your decision to do this. Let's see. No way I'm letting you take the floor this time. Here we go again. You rolled your eyes and let out a soft laugh, which Cove returned as he rubbed at the back of his neck. Let's see. I want to share. I won't allow you to take the floor. I will literally beat you down into submission. You're staying on this bed. His eyebrows dipped. He was growing visibly nervous. It was to be expected. But after what happened last time, you'd been waiting for another chance. You hoped he felt the same, and it seemed he did.
Yeah.
This time we can share. You'll really stay? You won't leave to be on the floor? He nodded, holding back at your delight. You tried not to grin at his sudden resolve. We're gonna share the bed. You could hear the tremble in Cove's voice as he held his hands together to keep them from shaking. He let out a breath and shook his hands in front of him, mentally preparing himself. It's gonna be alright. His mouth set into a grim line and he balled his hands into fists at his side, determined. Let's see. It's not that serious. Just relax, it's only me and you. Nothing bad is gonna happen. It only took a couple of moments longer before he turned to you, attempting a weak smile. Ready? I'm definitely ready. Let's get cozy. He took another deep breath and you slipped under the covers, making room for him to get in after you. Laying as straight as a steel rod, Cove tensed up beside you, so he still was barely breathing at all. You rested on your side and faced him, your eyebrows pinched in the middle as you watched him. He looked back at you deeply. Do you need more time? I can leave until you're more set up here.
No,
please. Don't go. I just want you to stay with me. Ever so slowly, he began to relax, his fingers tentatively brushing up and down your arm. His eyes shut, lashes fawning over the top of his cheeks. And you still half expected him to run away like last time. But he didn't. He stayed right where he was.
Don't worry about it.
You don't have to worry about me. Doing stuff like this isn't a problem. It's a process. You nodded in understanding, even though he couldn't see it, giving him time to let his nerves settle. After fluffing up your pillow and getting yourself comfy, you stayed quiet. Eventually, his shoulders became less rigid. When his eyes opened, he smiled and turned his head towards you. Thank you for waiting again, as always. He laughed shyly, his soft eyes meeting yours through the dim light.
Are you okay?
No. It took you long enough, but it's fine now. I know, sorry. He let out a deep breath, relief written on his face. He shuffled closer, an inch at a time, and nuzzled his chin against the top of your head, wrapping his arms around your sides. You let him hold you, you stayed like that, you grasped his shirt. Hold me. The safety and warmth of his arms enveloped you, and you exhaled a contented sigh of your own. The room grew quiet around you. The only sounds to be heard were the faraway crash of the ocean waves and your breath mingling in the small space between you. Cove's heart was pounding, the thump of it rumbling through you as he spoke again softly.
That's...
You know, I'm not scared of you, right? It's just so many other things that scare me. Is it my big fat cock? Is it just so big it's just frightening? I'm afraid of what if hypotheticals that aren't actually real, but I think about anyway. And nebulous concepts of what things mean that I can barely explain even to myself. I'm scared of my own feelings and how much I feel them. And I'm afraid because tomorrow things might be different between us. And I'll be alone again. He held onto you tighter, his breath stuttering ever so slightly. It's normal right now to see you during the day, and part ways at night. Except for special exceptions. Our 10-centimeter schlong scares him? Girl, that's about 4 inches. Right? That's not big. That's tiny. Except for special exceptions. A little laugh escaped him before his tone became serious once more. It's easier to stay where I am than it is to make myself move, to not take a risk, and to not know what I might be missing, but... He hesitated, and you reached up to brush a few strands of hair from his face. Gently, his eyes slowly fixing upon yours. When did the essay thing get so hard? When it comes to you, I don't know how to stay still. I want to keep taking steps forward. Honestly, when I see your face or even imagine it, I want to start sprinting. Never mind, sorry you're Asian. But when I try, I hit a wall. It's just like I physically can't do it on one side of my mind. There's something blocking me. And then on the other side, I absolutely can't stop myself from doing it. It never ends
I'm
well.
always like this.
I hate it. It's the most frustrating thing. Why do I do it every time? I'm annoyed with the way I am, so I have no idea how you stand it. I'm sorry I act so split when it comes to, romantic things. I don't want you to think you're rushing me when I know I'm giving mixed signals. And I don't want to miss out on being happy by being like this, but sometimes I still can't help it. So basically what I'm trying to say is, I'm glad you've never given up on me. It means a lot. It means everything to me. Let's see. Girl, I wasn't listening to half of that. You smiled in understanding. Girl, all I did was smile. I just smiled and nodded. I've just been thinking about what I'm gonna eat for breakfast tomorrow. I haven't been listening, and then I just smile and nod, and he just starts crying. Oh god, Cove. I have not been listening. His eyes glossed over a little as he squeezed you closer to him and smiled, his heart rate finally relaxing to a normal rhythm.
Good night.
Good night, Joseph. Alright, good night, whatever. He leaned forward and kissed you tenderly, his hand gently moving to cradle the back of your head.
I love you.
I love you too. You were still smiling as you snuggled into him, getting as close as you could. Cocooned in his warmth, you easily grew comfortable next to him, feeling him ease into you as well. Before long, your eyes were going heavy and you drifted off to a restful sleep side by side. The next morning, you woke slowly from a comfortable dream. With a small stretch, you opened your eyes fully to the sun shining in through the window. Shuffling to your side, you noticed Cove still beside you in bed, sleeping soundly. His arms continued to be draped around you, loosely as he snored. You must have fallen asleep that way. You smiled, remembering the prior night. It had been nice to spend the night together, getting to be with him in a whole different way. You could definitely get used to it. You quietly watched him sleep, stroked his cheek gently. We can stroke his cheek gently. Now let's run a hand through his hair. The familiar scent of his shampoo drifted towards you and you gently raked his soft strands between your fingers. He stirred a little in response, a small sleepy smile curving his lips. Then a loud noise suddenly startled you and you snapped towards the source of the sound. Hey, Mr. Holden, get out. We're having fun in here. God, I hate my cat so much, guys. She just cannot stop being a little... Alright. I don't even know where she went. She ran off. So I don't know what the hell that's about. Anyhow, can't you just keep the stream up? That's what I'm gonna have to do now, but now I can't edit it. And cut out any pauses or breaks or things that shouldn't be there. Can't do that anymore. It was opening abruptly, and in the frame stood Mr. Holden, smiling brightly. He hadn't seemed to notice you straight away. Get your butt out of bed, sport. Mom's here. Oh. All of a sudden, the two of you made eye contact and you froze where he stood, the smile slowly slipping from his face. It's okay, Mr. Holden. You can join us if you want. Well, that's not what I usually walk into. I clearly should have knocked this morning. Your mouth fell wordlessly open. Good morning, Mr. Cove Holden. You pulled the blanket over your head, you screamed. Of course, Cove would get away with sneaking in the room. I'm the one who gets caught. Should I pretend I didn't hear that? Cove blinked his eyes tiredly and mumbled something incoherent before turning towards the door. Both you and Mr. Holden stared at him for a few more moments, neither knowing what to say or do. Cove continued looking at his dad dozily, was obviously having a hard time trying to process the situation. Then his eyes widened. Dad? Cove scrambled on the bed in an attempt to get to his feet, pushing the covers back off the both of you. Forgetting there was an overhanging ceiling above him, he shot upwards and hit his head on the wood. Ow. He flopped back down on his pillow, pressing a hand to his head, groaning loudly. Cove. You reached out towards him instinctively. It was the second time that sharing a space with him had resulted in him hitting his head. You really felt bad for him. Poor Cove. Cove, bud, are you alright over there? Mr. Holden stepped further into the room, his eyebrows furrowed in concern, and he bent down towards his son.
Yes!
Yes, please, just go. Okay, I'll leave. You don't have to. Cliff held his hands in front of him in a calming gesture, even though Cove couldn't see it. He turned to make his exit, but stopped abruptly in the doorway, obviously deciding he had something more to say. I know we've talked about this before, but I feel like now is one of those times to mention that I was barely older than you when I found out I was going to be a daddy, so... Mr. Holden, I don't have a womb! Just if there's anything you need to say or ask about. We're not getting kids yet. He let out a heavy sigh, running a hand over his face before stopping himself and saying calmly, You know what? It's fine. We'll chat about this later. Kyra's wedding, Kyra awaits. Kyra's awaiting. Why did I just say Kyra's wedding? With that, he stepped back out of the room, giving the two of you one last look before pulling the door shut behind him. Cove rubbed at his face before dripping his head into his hands and mumbling between his fingers.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, oh my god. You patted him on the leg. That was fun. Go here, some hands. Let's pat him. It's alright, things like this happen. With a heavy sigh, Cove forced himself to sit up again. He frowned hard, staring over at the closed door. Sorry. What my dad said, that was really, really dumb. It wasn't something he should have brought up. You know which comment Cove meant? The one about how Mr. Holden had gotten Kyra. Sorry about that. That wasn't something that would happen with you and Cove being together. I think he was just trying to show me how serious spending the nights in general. Wait, I think he was just trying to show how serious spending the nights is in general. He wasn't trying to compare us with him. You appreciate Cove's words, you shrugged it off, you joked about it, you felt bad about the comments. Joke about it. Or maybe he was secretly afraid that we'd plan a child heist if we were alone for too long. You mean a kidnapping? That sounds harsher. It is harsh. But we could probably pull it off. We could. He has a right to be worried. Guess so. You both simultaneously released a deep breath. I guess we can't just hide in here now. He gave you a sidelong glance, and despite his displeasure at the situation, a small smile quirked his lips.
It's nice.
It's too bad. It had been really nice. I wish we could stay in here all day. You found yourself smiling along with him. The two of you took a few minutes to get up properly and get yourselves as ready as possible before heading out to see Kyra. Kyra was waiting patiently in the living room. She was in high spirits with her eyes set on the hallway. Her amused smile only widened when you and Cove froze. It didn't take long for the realization to sink in that the scene must have been loud enough for her to hear even from there. Cove tried to look unimpressed, eyes narrowing over Kyra's smug delight, though his face was already turning red and his mom hadn't even said anything yet. He squared his shoulders, lifting his head, and strode forward.
Hey.
Hi, Mom. Hi, baby, and hello to you too, Joseph. Her tone cracked in her greeting, and then she just gave in and laughed, unable to keep in any of it. Cove frowned at that, and his eyebrows furrowed. Sorry for the interruption. I didn't know you already had guests. His frown wobbled as he became even more embarrassed by this moment. He couldn't muster up any words to defend himself. Not like anyone's surprised by this. Kyra laughed even harder this time. As it slowed, she brought a hand up to cover her mouth, but you could both still see her shoulders shake. Cove still looked mortified, but he shot you a stern look. All you could do was smile. Cove was still unable to say anything. Other than his teeth biting into the inside of his cheek, he stood there frozen. Kyra studied you both for a moment.
It's alright.
It's okay. My not-so-little mister is spreading his wings. I can't complain about that. She lightly tapped the tip of her nose. That got a tiny smile out of Cove, despite being much taller than Kyra at this point. He still seemed like a little kid in front of her. You released the air you were holding in your lungs, and then Kyra's gaze locked onto you. You know, we were just about to go over to see Pam and Noelle. Are you two coming? Sure, I should definitely go back there. Who's Pam and Noelle? Cove chuckled at your phrasing. He stretched his arms for a moment and yawned, trying to physically shake off what had happened.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Great.
Great, let's do it. It was then that you noticed Mr. Holden standing on the other side of the room. You figured he must have been trying to create some space for everyone during that last conversation. You could tell he felt a bit awkward, but he tried smiling reassuringly as he scratched the back of his neck. His attention went to Cove. 1 second. 1 second. You forget that they have names. Oh, those are our moms? Wait, did they wasn't one of our moms named Noelani? I didn't see Noelani. Wait, where's... Oh, Pam and Noelle. Noelle is a short name for her. That's why I got confused. Because her full name is like Noelani or something. It was like, who the hell is Noel? Like, girls, who the hell is Noel? It's Noelani. Anyway. You could tell he felt a bit awkward. Did I already read this? I think I did. Bud, do you want to get changed first? Cove looked down at his pajamas for a moment. He shook his head. No, we don't have to wait for that. Are you sure? It's only a trip across the street.
Don't worry about it.
I'm alright. Besides, Joseph is going in pajamas too. Fair points. Cove then leaned in closer to you. He grumbled quietly. And your moms are gonna figure out what happened anyways, so... Yeah.
Come on!
Away we go. With that decided, the four of you headed out across the street to your house. It felt strange waiting there while Mr. Holden knocked on the door.
Hello.
Hi there. Mom answered the door and her expression brightened even more seeing Kyra there. She moved to pull Kyra into our hug when her gaze fell on you. Joseph? Hi, Mom.
Huh?
Huh? How? When did you get out there? Why are you still in your pajamas? Mom's eyebrows raised as she gave you a deep, examining stare. Meanwhile, you and Cove shared a slow side glance with each other. Before you could answer, more heads popped into view around the doorway. Ma, Liz, and Lee were all chuckling. To be honest, I always assumed Cove had been the one sneaking around. Her eyes sparkled with amusement, and you had to look away. You noticed Cove's face was burning red again. It was a solid theory, Lonnie. Most likely they've both been breaking and entering. I wouldn't put it past my baby. He takes after his parents.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. I can't believe my Joseph has been getting up to all that mischief, too. Mortified, Cove looked like he wanted to disappear. While the adults chuckled and discussed what you and him may or may not have done, fortunately, they left the conversation there. Enough of standing around out there. Come on in. Mom moved aside to usher the group in and guided them to the living room. Before anyone could get settled in, Mom spoke up. You're all welcome to stay for breakfast. We still have some great spices and stuff from the farmer's market.
Of course.
Yes, we'd be thrilled to host you. There were eager nods from Mr. Holden and Kyra, but Cove looked around the room filled with familiar faces before speaking up. Maybe instead of staying here, why don't we go to the beach? A scenic picnic, eh? Mr. Holden crossed his arms and contemplated that idea happily. Excited, Kyra clapped her hands together.
Yeah!
Oh, we can make a day out of it. Might as well enjoy the ocean while we can. That sounds lovely, Cove. Everyone else put in their own agreement with Cove's suggestion. Before long, both families dispersed, getting everything ready. Sandwiches had to be made. Water, sunscreen, towels, and more needed to be gathered and packed. Plus, you and Cove took some time to get dressed for the day. An hour later, both your family and Cove's were walking down the old path to the beach. The morning was already turning into a bright and beautiful day. You honestly couldn't ask for better weather for a beach trip. The moment you laid your eyes on the full view of the ocean, you stopped and stood there mesmerized. It didn't matter that you grew up there, the sight always filled you with wonder. Hey, Joseph.
So?
I was thinking about calling Terry and Miranda. So, if they can come, see if they can come too. Girl, I literally forgot about them. Everyone else is pretty much already here. So, would your family mind? Wow, you had a good idea. He chuckled, his mouth pulled into a bent smile. It had to happen sometimes, even with Clifford's surprise, Holden raising me. That had you laughing this time. You were already eager for your friends to join you there. Hey, Mom, Ma. They both stopped what they were doing and turned towards you. Immediately you darted over to them. I have a question. Would it be alright if Terry and Miranda came by? I don't see why not. Ma looked to Mom to see what she thought, and she nodded in agreement. Mom then shot another look over at Mr. Holden and Kyra, knowing that they had likely heard everything.
You alright with that?
Cliff, Kyra, what do you think? The more the merrier.
Okay.
Of course, they're welcome with me. Thanks. Delighted, you nodded and turned on your heels. Cove is still several feet away, talking to Lee and Liz, likely about the same topic. With a beaming smile, you gave him a thumbs up, and the two of them must have also approved, as Cove quickly got his phone out and started making calls. At that, you turned your attention to helping with the picnic setup. Unexpectedly, your phone started ringing. You dug it out, curious to see the caller ID. Feeling your heart jump with excitement, you answered. It was Derek. Derek! Hey, this is a surprise. I thought you disappeared. What kind of voice do we give him? He was a twink last time we saw him, and he talked like this. Nope, I have not, and I hope it's at least a good surprise, but we know he's bulked up now. A very good one. He chuckled at that, and your smile widened. So what's up? The voice that came through was much deeper than it had been when you were first met, but it still had the exact same amount of enthusiasm as a kid. Much deeper? We can give him a deep voice. Have you been enjoying these crazy summer days? Yeah, I have. Can you go back to your squeaky voice? It was a lot more... It wasn't as frightening. Awesome. You'll have to catch up with me on that. But what about you? How's your summer been? You're beyond curious to know what Derek had been up to since the last time you spoke. He chuckled, noticing your invested tone. Honestly, I've just been slammed with stuff lately. College applications and scholarship inquiries. What else is new? How you gonna go straight from Shota to Bara? Well, he did it. I bet you're more toned than last time I saw you. Yeah. Laughing, you knew that you didn't need to see him to know the answer to that. Derek wouldn't be Derek if his free time didn't revolve around sports. Totally. I'm gonna be so buff you won't even recognize me. That's an understatement. What about your family? Are your brothers being good? My little brothers are little punks, but I guess they're doing alright. You both laughed at that. It was easy to imagine the grin on his face. Mom and Dad are fine. That's great. My moms are too. Turning your attention back to your surroundings, you smiled warmly at your family buzzing around. Towels are laid out and chairs and umbrellas are being set up. You know who we've sort of excluded from all of this? Baxter. Kinda just excluded him, guys. He's even our neighbor. He's even our neighbor, so we could have just like walked next door and knocked on his door and been like, hey, you wanna come by for the beach? For the beach episode? We kinda didn't though. Turning your attention back to your surroundings, you smiled warmly at your family. Did I already read that? Actually, I'm out with my moms right now. Liz and Lee are here visiting too. Oh, that's fun. But if that's the deal, I'll get you back to it. You can't wait to romance the DLC at 13? It's family history? Baxter, disgusted face. What the? How dare you? Baxter's cute. Are you sure? I don't mind. Uh-huh, I'm sure. I'm not about to lose your number. Okay, bye. Bye, Joseph. Have a heck of a day. Hanging up, the conversation left you energized and in good spirits. It was exactly what you needed to make the day even better. You hurried over to your mom's and helped put the rest of the food out. In moments, you noticed Cove at your side. So what's the verdict on those invitations? They're gonna come. Yes. Excited, you raised your free hand for a high five. Cove laughed and slapped your hands.
Yeah.
They'll meet us here later today. Shouldn't be too long. I can't wait. Well, on the topic of inviting people to join, finally, you realize there was someone else you could call as well. You'd gotten Baxter's number earlier that summer. Yes, we're gonna message him. Everyone else is gonna be there. You didn't want him to be left out. You sent him a text and hoped he'd show. After that, you made sure to mention what you'd done. No one seemed to mind. Once the setup was done, everyone got comfortable and dug into the food. Fun fact in Wave's moment of step 2, if you don't go to the beach with Cove, you get to call Derek on the phone. You couldn't remember the last time breakfast tasted this good, but you attributed it to the gorgeous ocean view and soothing sea breeze. Morning swiftly gave way to the afternoon, and a very recognizable face came walking down to the shore. It was Baxter. He came. Thank God. He pleasantly approached with a wave.
Hello, folks.
Oh, Baxter. God, I know I was just crying over Cove last week and about how much I loved him, but like, girl, you're still looking cute. Wait, how do I do a British accent again? British. It's Tuesday, innit? It's Tuesday, innit? Hello there. I appreciate the invite to the party. Of course, you're welcome with us. We brought plenty of towels and food and sunscreen. Yeah, you're one of the neighbors. Kick back and relax with us.
Thank you.
Baxter's gaze moved over to you and Cove. He smiled. Joseph, Cove, long time no see. Hi. You waved from where you were leisurely sat and Cove nodded. I'm glad you decided to come. So am I. It was then that Baxter noticed the faces he didn't immediately recognize from around the neighborhood. If you love his shirt, but you'd rather see him without him. Without it, exactly. He turned up his charm even more for the introductions. Excuse me, I'm Baxter Ward. I'm sorry, we haven't met before. Well, not typically from around this area. Just visiting. I'm Cove's mom. Wait, what do you mean we're not typically from around this area? It's just you. Oh, I guess Lee. Lol. Oh my god, Lee's outfit is cute. Oh my god, this is the first time we've seen her full sprite for this step. Oh my god. Girl, you're slaying. Yes. I love it. Oh my gosh. You're like a fashion queen. I love you, Lee. A few giggles escaped Lee as she watched Baxter carefully. When his attention turned to her now, she held out a hand.
Hi!
Hi, I'm Lee, Joseph and Liz's cousin. Baxter shook it and then took a step back. Lee's smile grew. I'll remember. Yeah, like that. I'll remember that. It's nice to meet you both. After that, Baxter spent some time getting better acquainted with everyone, and Terry and Miranda arrived excitedly. The conversation shifted to what you all would do next.
In that case?
We could do a few rounds of volleyball. There's plenty of us now.
Is that all right?
Girls, when did you arrive? Could I play? Of course. Miranda brightened, delighted with this plan. Ma looked around to see if there were any other takers. I don't feel like playing. I'd have to change, but it'd be fun to watch. I could be the ref. My eyes won't miss a thing. Volleyball's a good idea, but there should probably be something happening for those who aren't a fan. Oh, I have some crafting supplies we could use to make jewelry. We could even use stuff we find around the beach to accentuate them. You just bring crafting supplies with you everywhere, girl?
Really?
What, really? I want to make a necklace.
That'd be great.
I'd be interested in trying my hand at that, too.
Absolutely.
It always takes me a second to get into Baxter. Impromptu crafting is my kind of party. I'd like to join too, please. Oh, wait, what's Cove? Cove didn't mention what he was doing! Cove didn't mention what he was doing! Maybe he'll just do whatever we do. I'll play volleyball. Or, wait, what was Baxter doing?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll make jewelry if Baxter's doing it. Already you were imagining various designs you could make depending on what Lee let you use. Your cousin shot you a thumbs up, clearly happy with your decision. I guess I'll try making a necklace too. Actually, I was trying to hang out with Baxter, but, you know, do what you want to do. Tyra got up from the towel she was sitting on. She brushed some sand off her legs and then stretched her arms over her head.
Can do.
I'm up for a few rounds. Well, since there's still a free spot, I'll throw my hat in the ring. The things I do for family.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I love that. Liz got up from where she was sitting, and you could tell by her expression that she was already determined to win. You laughed to yourself, curious now how the game would turn out. Now that the plans are settled, the groups were temporarily split in two.
Okay.
Okay, let me pop back to the house to get my supplies. God, I need to get into this British voice quickly. Not take a pause every time. Anything we can do to help while you're gone? Yes, you can start clearing out the towels for us to work at. And if you want, look around for good stuff to use.
I'm on it.
Roger that. While Lee ran back to the house, the group did just as he suggested. By the time she returned, everyone had their craft area ready to work at. Lee sat down on one of the towels and looked up at everyone eagerly. She held up 2 necklace options. I hope you've all been thinking about what you want to make. I have for everyone a choice of either a chain or a threaded rope. How do I pick? All I know is that I want some sea glass chunks on it. That is a charming idea. His gaze went back and forth between Lee's 2 necklace base options. You could tell he was thinking quite hard about it. I can't decide anything for mine. No rush. I'll leave the strands here and you can decorate it however you want later. I suppose I'll use whatever I spot around the beach first. Fate can decide. I think I'll keep it classic and only worry about finding a decent shell.
Yeah!
Yeah, I'm planning on doing shells too. I want to find sea glass. It's gonna hurt. I'm gonna hunt for shells. Driftwood? Girl, you gonna put driftwood in your necklace? What the? It's nasty. I'll hunt for shells. That sounds like a good plan. Just a bit, Lee's eyes narrowed. You could see a playful, teasing look surfacing. If you find anything really good, I hope you'll be willing to share. Your mouth pulled into a wide smile as you watched her carefully. It was hard not to laugh. You'd see about that one. Cove crossed his arms and chewed at the inside of his cheek. You weren't the only one that noticed. What's wrong, Cove? I'm not sure what to use. I mean, ideally I'd want a shark tooth, but what are the chances I would even find one? Mom smiled. You both looked at him sympathetically.
Sorry.
Sorry, the rare downsides of not having a shark-filled coast. That would make for a really nice necklace, though.
I know.
At Cove's pouting, Mom gave him a little bump on the shoulder with her fist. Well, don't lose all hope. You never know. You never know. You might end up really lucky. You would be open to Polly's? Oh my god. You hoe. Kidding. Cove laughed. It cheered him up even though he wasn't really convinced. After that, the little crafting club busily went to work on their pieces. Whatever they decided on using was attached in loops that were then slid onto their necklace base. Terry was immensely proud of herself when she was done. Hers was simple but gorgeous because of the striking piece of sea glass she painstakingly searched for and found. Baxter excitedly showed his finished piece off to everyone. He stayed true to his word and used various materials he found along the beach. The necklace looked like it had a good weight for the clutter. He always had an eclectic style, it seemed. Cove ended up using driftwood of varying lengths to design his necklace. Despite not finding any shark teeth, he still looked pretty pleased. Mom decided on a medium-sized purple ring top shell as the centerpiece of hers. And Lee went with a few small Simnia? Never heard that word. Simnia shells. They both put their necklaces on soon after finishing them. After combing the beach several times, you found just what you were looking for. It took a bit, but you managed to make a necklace you were satisfied with. It had mostly shells. Your group of crafters would also cheer for the volleyball players. Whenever shouts could be heard coming out of the court. On top of that, you would all hold up each other. Wait, can't read. On top of that, you would all hold up each newly made piece in the air, and the players would take a breath to applaud their creation. You really enjoyed searching the beach, trading supplies, and watching everyone make their necklace. The crafting club was definitely a success, and you weren't the only one that had a blast. Ugh. Ugh. How much longer is left in this step, Lindsay, since you've already played it? I mean, not in this step, in this epilogue. The crafting club was definitely a success, and you weren't the only one that had a blast. The afternoon continued to drift by, but the fun was still going strong. Occasionally, someone would head back to the house to use the bathroom, rest away from the sun for a while, or retrieve something that they needed, but they always came back. The beach was never empty, and there was always a new conversation to take part in or another game to join. At one point, Mr. Holden broke out of his pack of cards. He roped the whole group into a few rounds of good old go fish. There was only one thing that could bring this beach day to an end. And that was for the day itself to end. Before anyone realized it, the sun began to set over the sea. As that happened, you were taking a break, sitting on a towel with your legs stretched out past it, and your feet buried in the warm sand. You were playing a handheld game. Shortly, you looked up to see your moms approaching. They stopped in front of you and smiled. Hey there, kiddo.
How are you?
That sounded like it was still Pam, not Ma. How are you doing? Not too much. After the beach, there's one last part. Oh my god, then I feel terrible to end it here because I'm out of time. But girls, I am out of time.